Rajuili. I'm the former WBF International Super Featherweight Champion and former WBF All Africa Lightweight Champion. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's me once again, your host, David Rajuili. Welcome to Ringside Talking with the Punches. Today we've got a very exciting guest, a former IBO Youth World Champion. He walks with 20 fights, 15 wins, 13 of those coming by knockout, with 5 losses. Born in the DRC, now residing in South Africa, the one and only Flo Simba.
Am I on, guys? Oh, there we go.
How are you,
How's it, guys?
How are you, brother?
I'm good in yourself.
Good, man. Long time, brother. Thank you for coming to join me on Ringside Talk. We call it Ringside
Thank you for having
me. Talking with the Punches. It's a little talk show I've got, interviewing boxers, Hall of Famers, and we're just talking boxing. And tonight, I would like you to speak to my people, the fans of Ringside Talk. Just I told them a little bit about who you are. How's about you tell the people who you are, where you're from, and your fight record?
Okay, like David Rajuili has introduced me. My name is Flo Simba. I was born in Congo. I grew up here in South Africa. So I'm born. You can say I'm raised here, but I'm still Congolese. I've got 20 fights under my belt. 15 wins, 5 losses. Within those 15 fights, I did fight for the IBO Youth World title, and I was luckily the winner. Fortunately, the winner. There's no luck in this game.
Yes, brother. Flo Simba. I don't think many viewers know. Me and Flo actually used to box together. We boxed in amateurs. I remember Flo, we were both at the Lovitch Gym in Regent's Park, a little gym there for, you would say, the underprivileged kids to come and train there. We had our coach, Uncle Aubrey. Remember Uncle Aubrey? Who taught you how to fight? I still remember the day Flo walked into the ring and into the gym, and Uncle Aubrey looked at Flo and he's like, geez, this boy's got the punching power. And we were like, yeah, this guy just needs to learn to throw that 1-2 and he's going to be knocking people out. And that's what you were doing, Flo. You were just knocking the people out, brother, from amateurs. How many amateur fights did you have again?
Only 7 amateur fights, huh?
Okay, only 7 amateur fights, eh?
Only 7 amateur fights.
I remember, and you were knocking the oaks out. It was just getting you to get that punching power. And your pro career in those 20 fights, Flo, you had 13 of those by knockouts.
Yeah.
In your 15 wins, 13 of those came by knockouts, correct?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'll say to the coach, the coach at that time was Harold Fulbright, and he knows the game, and he told me a few combinations. This is the combination that's gonna win you the fight, and I'd say 9 out of 10, that very same combination that I repeated was the actual combination that I knocked the guy out with. So he's got a good eye for boxing.
That's it, Mr. Harold Fulbright. Harold Fulbright, he was the coach for Brian Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yes. We actually had Brian Mitchell on our show, I think 3 weeks ago. He was one of our guests, the Hall of Famer. And he trained Brian Mitchell, so he trained you. And how many fights did you have with Harold?
I had, I think it was 18 or 19 fights.
19 fights?
I can't recall. Yeah, I can't recall, but I think it's 18 or 19.
About there, and 13 KOs came from there. I remember at one stage, Flo, you were one of the top hot prospects, not just in South Africa, in Africa alone. You were rated one of the best heavyweights at your age as well. You were very young, around
Yeah.
21 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yes.
yeah, you were just knocking these guys out, left, right, and center. Whatever they put in front of you, you were knocking them out. Which fight would you say in that time was the highlight or the toughest fights you got to have at that
Well, to
time?
be honest, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say highlight, but I'd say a good fight that stays with me was with Elvis Moya,
Yes,
because he gave me everything. Like I hit him every round down, and he kept on coming back, kept on coming back.
yes,
Like he did not give up, and we still talk till this day. You know, he's a great guy, and I honestly
yes.
think that fight is one of the fights that I'll never forget.
Okay, nice, man. And I also know you got into a battle with also one of South Africa's, you can say, children in boxing, Daniel Prever. He was like
Yeah.
also a hot boxer at the time, world ranked, boxing out of the Durant's boxing gym as well. That was a huge fight in South Africa. I still remember that one. Flo Simba versus Daniel Prever. You went on to beat Daniel Prever in that fight. Can you tell us more about that fight if you remember?
Yeah, well, I've been building up to get to heavyweight, and it was my first what you call fight at cruiserweight, and I struggled to actually drop the weight. Obviously, I also know that I know Daniel Perez's style and demeanor. I've seen some of his tactics, so I try to avoid giving him the upper hand and letting him what you call it take advantage. As soon as he sees a weak point, he will take advantage. So I just try
Yes.
to pocket the rounds every round. I just try to win a round, win one at a time, and at the end of the fight,
You
I
were
got
victorious.
the W. Yeah.
Yes, I remember. Flo, now, as I said in the beginning of this interview, you were um, at, I think it was at 21, at a very young age too. The media and the boxing scene kind of shot you through to the top as the new hot prospect, uh, not just in South Africa, as I said, in Africa. You were, we can say the Mike Tyson, just knocking everybody out on top of the boxing world. Um, I don't know, was by then was there Kevin Levinas in them? I'm not sure, but how was that pressure for you as a young guy? Even coming from amateur record with not so much amateur, coming into the pro ranks, and your career elevating to the top so quickly like that, knocking all these guys out. You were like a superstar very quickly. Already, even in the world rankings, you were up there. How was that pressure for you as a young boxer athlete at that young age, being shot up to superstardom so quick in your career?
No, I would say the pressure was enormous, but you know, when you dream big, and obviously I had a completely different mindset because right now I respect the sport of boxing. That's why I'm still in the sport and I love it. But back then I had a different mindset completely. I always believed you have
Can you tell us
the
about
guy
that a
who
little
trains the
bit?
hardest. Sorry,
Yeah. I said,
how
can you
can you
tell
hear
us
me?
a little bit about the different mindsets that you had then and what you have now?
Well, back then, what you call it, the mindset was, listen, we both men, both made out of skin, we both made out of bones. The fitter
Hmm.
guy is going to definitely win the fight. That was the mindset.
Okay.
So I just went in there and basically balls to the wall and fought every fight with everything that I had.
Yeah. And now?
Now I understand the business. I understand the technical aspect of boxing, and the how you can win a fight from just simple things. You don't really boxing is not really about being the most barbaric or the most strongest fighter. You have to be the most intelligent fighter. That's what boxing is about.
Yes, it's very
Once you
true.
learn
Very
that, then you
true.
understand the difference.
Yes. I don't know. I like I've seen myself. I would say over the years, you mature as well as a fighter. You know, in the beginning of your career, I think all fighters are just also very hungry and will jump into any fights and stuff like this and just want to go. And then later, we start actually realizing that this is actually a business. There's a way and ways to do things, ways to go about things, ways to get to the top instead of just jumping in and just doing. This I'm speaking for me, and I've seen that, yes, in time, if you allow yourself, you do get to mature, and there is different scenarios there. But yeah, man,
That's
tell us now
sorry about
about
that.
you had one of sorry, brother. You had a crazy fight. There was a man you fought. He fought Mike Tyson. He went 6 rounds, I think, with Mike Tyson. Francois Botha, the White Buffalo. I think not a lot of guys have fought the White Buffalo. And for you, you were also very young. You got in there. You fought the White Buffalo. The man fought Mike Tyson. Um, was that one of your hardest fights? Was it a lot of pressure fight? How how about that fight? Such a big. That was, I think, one of your biggest fights, like in terms of
Yeah.
names, if we would say.
In terms of names, yes, it was one of the biggest fights. I actually learned a lot from that fight. I learned a lot, not only in terms of in boxing, but also understanding how can I say when to attack, when not to attack, how to move. Um, how can I say frontal Bota? I remember back then I had a completely different mindset, and my mindset was we're both made out of bones, we're both made out of skin, blood, everything. But now the way I'm sitting at, that was a ridiculous fight for me. Think about it. 2 years prior to the Francois Botha fight, I've never stepped into a boxing ring. And this
Yes,
guy's
it's true.
fought Mike Tyson. He's fought big names. You know what I'm
Then
saying?
he's fought. Yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
was. Still remember. What do you think? Do you think you were pushed a little bit too early for fights like that, or do you think at the time
Uh,
you were ready
well,
for?
no, I can't say I think I'm pushed because I made the decision, but
Yeah.
you've got to be man up in the sport, and if you make the decision, you made the decision. At the end of the day, you're the one who signs the contract. Whether your team pushed you
Yes.
into that direction, it doesn't really matter.
It's true. Very, very true, brother. Well, you are in the heavyweight still again, right?
Yeah, I'm
You're
still in the
still a
heavyweight.
heavyweight.
Yeah.
And how's the heavyweight? How's it looking now in South Africa for you? What are you seeing? What scenes are you seeing? What potential fights are you seeing? We see now there is a new SA champion, Tian Fick. We've got Chris Thompson in the mix of things. We've got you. Um, what do you see in the future of South African boxing, heavyweights? Where do you see yourself in the mix with everything, Flo?
To to be honest, I actually have been looking at the local scene. I haven't been looking at the local scene. Um, what you call it? I've been trying to venture outwards. Like my next goal is to get like a continental title and build from there. That's my benchmarks.
Okay, nice. So you're not looking at the asset market. Are you managed? Are you under any management promotion or any promotion at the
Um,
moment?
At the moment, I'm not promoted by anybody, but I'm managed and trained by Jody Solomons.
Yes, we
And
are actually touch about this. Jodie Solomon. I know her very well. Amazing lady. Has taken care of some amazing fighters. She works alongside Roy Jones Jr. I'm sure you've met Roy Jones Jr. a few times. He's there in the gyms and
yeah.
stuff. Can you tell us how's that experience training with such a name like Roy Jones Jr., being around such a person? I don't know if I can call him your guy's mentor or anything like this, but how is it just, day to day being around that guy and getting tips from him, working with him? Would you let the viewers know?
Well, day to day, we actually train with Jody.
Yes.
Prior to the fights, wherever we go, for like 2 3 weeks, we start training with Roy. But Jody teaches all the fundamentals. She's actually, I won't lie, she's very clued up on the boxing. Yeah, very
Oh, you
clued
see,
up.
sorry to cut you. You see, you're a coach, not just a manager.
She's the coach.
Oh, okay, that's
So
amazing.
so
First time I yeah.
yeah. So when we go to fights, what you call it, she'll do all the behind the scenes work, and then Roy will sharpen and use his not his boxing knowledge to refine she's taught us.
Oh, wow.
It's actually amazing. It's actually amazing to see how what you call it, Jody adds her input, and then Roy adds his little spice to the end, and then you see magic at the end of the day.
Yes, I could only imagine. It's two minds. You also got the mind of Roy Jones Jr. coming into the mix. Um, I'm sure he's come with a lot of different training styles that he's picked up in his career and also in America. As why I say this is, I've noticed here in Germany a lot the way we train is a lot different to what we used to do in South Africa. How has the changing been since working with a man like Harold Forbat, who got you to 20 fights or 18 fights, and then working with Joe and Roy Jones Jr.? How is there a different type of training? Obviously, it's different minds, but um, do you see the difference, like the international
Yeah,
style? Okay,
yeah. No, well, for me, there is a big difference.
okay,
Um, Obviously, the Roy and Jody's style is more footwork orientated, and they always have proper game plans, like tactics on how to approach this fighter, how to approach that fighter. It's not necessarily like you're gonna go there and fight. You're going to go there and box and win.
and when yeah,
They
it's
they
like
then they'll tell you straight. This fight you will never knock the guy out. You have to win on points, but they'll make sure that your game plan is 100%.
yes, I feel you. I understand. No, no, I understand what you mean by that. Um, so I heard you just now saying you looking at intercontinental title fights or something like that. Is there anything brewing the fans should know? Anything lined up for Flo Simba at the moment, or are you just in the gym?
Unfortunately, not. Unfortunately, not. Most of my fights have fallen through on the 11th hour.
Yeah, due to COVID or
COVID, what do you call it? Finances, disagreements, the usual boxing, how can I say, drama or
yes, yes.
politics.
Yes, but that and now that doesn't kill your heart, doesn't kill your drive, your ambition to get up in the morning to go and train, knowing that you don't have a fight or anything. Doesn't it hold you back? Doesn't
Uh,
it?
Slightly, but what I enjoy about training at Jody's gym is that every day I'm learning something new. It's not only about footwork, it's not only about movement, it's not only about defense. You learn something new. And you realize what you did wrong previously and you better it. So
Okay.
every day you better yourself. So it's not like you just go to the gym and hit a bag. You learn something. You learn, and especially if the other guy's fighting, you know, we learn their game plan, and by learning their
Yes,
game plan, you also better yourself.
yes, you're adding to your game plan, even though you're not fighting. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and it's always good to be open-minded. Always have a room for learning. I think that's what makes real champions. Um, People that humble themselves, open their mind for learning. Always, uh, it's a pleasure to train and work with such people in the gym. Um, yeah, man. So, no fights coming up for you, Flo. When last did you fight, my brother?
Yeah, it's been a while, eh? I think it's about three,
2019,
four
I
years
think.
ago.
Not
Yeah,
2009. 2 years ago, right?
I think it's 2 years ago. I'm not too sure.
But that's good, man. I remember at the stage there was a story of your career was actually ending. I think you were going to stop boxing. Boxing South Africa weren't giving you a license to box anymore. Um, with your medicals and stuff. What happened there and what kept you going? Like I know many boxers once they get told, listen, you can't box and stuff, it kills their dream. They look away from the dream. It's hard to find that ambition again. So will you tell us what actually happened and what kept you in the
Okay.
sport of boxing? Yeah.
Okay. I started boxing. I started boxing at 18. I was okay diagnosed, or I was told that I was a diabetic. So I've been taking insulin since the age of 16. Okay, and I always try to keep it hush hush because people judge you
Yes.
because now you're taking chronic medication, and I always made sure that I trained harder than anybody. Whether you think you're the fittest, you're the strongest, I made sure I trained harder than you. And with my okay, I can't say disability, with my condition, I'll bring the fire, and it's helped me in the beginning.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
with boxing SA, well, they weren't complaining about it because obviously I didn't disclose that information that I was diabetic, right?
Yes.
Only at a later stage I disclosed I was a diabetic, and then I think 2 or 3 fights later I had my first loss, and then they were a bit suspect about giving me a license again. But then I thought to myself, listen, I was number one South African heavyweight in
Yes.
the number one heavyweight in South Africa. Why would you take away my license? Because I've had this diabetes for years. So, but you know the politics of boxing. So I had to go through the Center of Diabetes, the CDE, and go through a few specialists. One of the specialists, she actually moved to Australia, Debbie Gordon, and they really helped me a lot to understand diabetes better. And because it's actually different on a professional level when you're training the way boxers train, the way any athlete trains, your medication had to be how can I say regulated properly. So I didn't know
Okay.
how to do that. So that's why I was having issues. But now I've learned how to handle it, and yeah, better off.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. And now, yeah, as I said, and now that you back, it's very good that you're back. I still remember when I heard you coming back. I was like, yeah, because we grew up together. We were all in amateurs, and it's always good to see, the people that you grow up with become champions and carry on in the sport. And it's sad when they start and they stop. So when I heard you were back, it made my heart happy to say, actually, Flo Simba is back. The man's going to be knocking out more homies and stuff. We're going to see him at the top, because I always believed in you. I believed you'd be I still believe you'll be a world champion. And it's good
Thank
that
you.
you're back in the swing of things. As a heavyweight boxer, a lot of heavyweight boxing happening around the world. Last week there was a lovely fight with Anthony Joshua and Usyk. Uh, as a heavyweight, what was your thoughts on that fight? What do you think going into the fight? Tell us who you thought was going to win, and what did you think of the fight after watching it?
Going into the fight, I thought Usyk was going to win.
Okay,
To
nice.
be honest, because I saw the build up and I saw Anthony Joshua was trying to slim down and be more agile and quick. And I thought about it. Usyk he's a fighter that's quick on his feet. He moves and he's very quick. He's very agile. He's very non-stop movement, non-stop aggression. And then if you look at it in like the whole boxing picture, I think Anthony Joshua accommodated Usyk by doing that. Instead of going like he went into his previous fights as he went as a bulldozer. In the previous fights, he
Yes,
was knocking people out. He was the aggressor.
the
Now
pressure,
he's trying
yes.
to outbox Usyk. You can't outbox Usyk, especially he's a two-time. I think he's a two-time Olympic gold medalist.
Olympic champion, correct? Yes,
Yeah, and
yes.
also he won the Super Series. He had some tough fights in the Super Series, but if you look
It's a
at
top
his
fighter. That's
performance,
what I was saying. Yeah,
if you see his performance, that's why I personally think Anthony Joshua, by losing weight and trying to speed up, you can't be doing that with somebody that's been doing it for years, and you just do
yes,
it for one fight,
correct. Yes, yes, correct, correct. So you
because
think
then
it
it's
was
changing your whole boxing style.
and just to ask you a question there, because you're a heavyweight boxer, you've been heavyweight most of your career, so you know how the weight fluctuates and how you work with your weight as a heavyweight. I'm a lightweight. I'm a super feather as well. I know how for us lightweight, the road work, a lot of cardio, a lot of hard work in the gym, our weight comes down fairly easier than you guys as heavyweights because you hold more muscle. You hold more
Yeah.
muscle. You're bigger. So with their game plan, you say that the game plan was wrong on Joshua's side. How how would you have prepared if you were Anthony Joshua for a fighter like Usyk, knowing your fight, your opponent moves, can dance, can find angles against you, what would you have done if you were Anthony Joshua?
Ooh,
Could
I
you
won't even lie.
had
That
you
is
known?
actually a very difficult question. But I would assess what you call it, the game plan from Usyk's previous fight against Chisora. Chisora was a bit of a messy fight, but I could see that fight gave Usyk a hard time. Usyk couldn't move as much as he wanted. He couldn't. He felt the heavyweight, the weight of a heavyweight,
Do you
so he
think he
couldn't
felt
just move like
the
he
power?
wanted.
Did Usyk feel Chisaro's power from the messiness of the fight? You think, or from the power punch from the punches?
I would say the messiness of the fight. You remember,
Yeah, because that.
this is a big lad. Is gonna be on top of you. It's gonna
Yeah,
take your legs.
yes,
It's gonna
yes,
take your
yes,
legs,
yes. Okay. So
and
if
it's gonna be a bit messy,
possibly,
especially on the inside.
and if so, you reckon if Joshua was more coming in like he usually does? We've watched Anthony Joshua. I'm sure the whole world has watched that guy, all his fights. He comes in, he's got that power behind his right. He boxes nicely. Uh, you think if he had more of that, more of the bulldozer, the knockout Anthony Joshua, things could have been a little bit different for him that night.
I would say so. But
Yeah.
also he shouldn't mix it on the inside with Usyk. Usyk on the inside he's
Usyk
dangerous.
is yeah. The Oki's everywhere.
So
He's
there's
like,
pros and cons to every strategy.
yes, it's true.
But
That's what
I
boxing
think
should be.
he'll be better off with that kind of strategy than the strategy that he did there, because he didn't look very effective trying to outbox Usyk.
Yes, that's for sure. That's for sure. People didn't understand what was going on. And now there's a big fight coming up in the heavyweights this weekend. We've got Fury and Wilder 3. Uh, what are your thoughts on that kind of a fight? Who would you want? What's your predictions? And what are your thoughts on this kind of fight? And let's start with those two questions.
Um, predictions. To be honest with you, I used to be a Bombs Bomber supporter, but I'm saying Tyson Fury is going to take the fight purely on the fact that the Bronze Bomber has had how many fights? Like 30 odd fights, and he's
Yeah,
knocked all
35.
of his opponents out. And it's too late now to learn those fundamentals. And to not
You think that?
okay, let me not say to
Rounds.
learn, to implement it, to use them. You know,
And
when you're in trouble, you go back to your old habits. So I
yes.
think it's too late for him to learn how to slip and slide and do all of that. So
Okay.
I
And
honestly think, and then
also to go through the
Tyson,
rounds and to box. Yes.
yeah, to go through
And
the rounds. Tyson Fury, he saw the weakness in Wilder's
well done.
boxing style, and he's going to, how can I say, hone on that weakness, because now he knows what the weakness is. He doesn't like to be
Yes.
pushed back. He doesn't like pressure, and Tyson Fury is a bigger guy, and he's going to do that. He's
Yes.
got no problem here.
And
And plus, Tyson Fury for a big guy is very slick and smooth.
yeah, that's a nice thing. I enjoy watching Tyson Fury for that reason. For me, he reminds me of like he boxes like a middleweight or something. He's so big, it just goes. It's nice to see that
Mm.
in the heavyweight division. Usually in the heavyweights you get these big guys, but Tyson Fury. Also Anthony Joshua. When he boxes Anthony Joshua, I feel he puts his boxing together. He moves nicely. You can say he's like a cruiserweight, even a super middleweight, with those big muscles and arms. But yeah, uh, what's your predictions on the fights this weekend with Wilder and Tyson? Yeah, you said you go with Tyson Fury with the predictions, KO points. What do you think?
Um, well,
Knockout,
I've been seeing all
TKO.
the videos and the movements that Wilder has been implementing, and unfortunately, I haven't seen any sparring footage or anything like that. But from what I've seen with that movement, he's moving with his arms low, and when you box a boxer like Tyson Fury, he's gonna catch him. I personally think he's
Yes.
gonna catch him.
Yeah,
So
but I was saying to someone,
I'd say Tyson by decision or by let's say TKO or knockout.
by what round? 8 round, 7, 6?
Well, once he's caught Wilder's rhythm or style, I'd say in the later rounds from 8 to 12.
Okay, nice, brother. Nice, brother. Uh, yeah, I also think a fight like this, it's going to be exciting. Uh, I'll go with Fury as well. I think he's just too smart. Who? Usyk. Now, we got three fighters here. We got Anthony Joshua, we got Tyson Fury, and you've got Usyk and who's Tyson Fury and Wilder.
Well,
Usyk. Now, who out of those three can stand with Usyk, you think? That would be would give Usyk. Okay, so whoever wins this weekend obviously fights Usyk. Fury versus Usyk. This is what I think would happen. Do you think Fury has got the skills and everything to beat a fighter like Usyk, or will Usyk be the king of the heavyweights?
To be honest with you, I'll give that title to Usyk. Usyk purely on the fact that he's a more busier fighter. So I say he'll bank the rounds.
Then all the fighters, eh? He is right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Nice, brother. Nice, man. Yeah, man. It's very good, brother, to sit with you to chat like this. I'm really excited about your career. I'm sure you've just got yourself some new fans, and some people will be watching, keeping a look out on Flo. Flo, any last words you have before we close for our viewers, for new fans out there watching tonight? Anything you want to say to people out there? Go ahead, brother.
Well, you actually put me on the spot there. Well, I just hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys liked what we spoke about. What you call it? I would really give a shout out to the missus and to my little baby girl. Well, since I started boxing, I used to love boxing, but since I became a father, something's taken over. So yeah, so I'll have to give a shout out to my baby girl. But the next man that gets in the ring is gonna fight a man that wants to make sure that he doesn't let his baby girl down. So that's what I'm gonna say right there, there and then.
And any words, anything you can say to young viewers, young guys watching you, inspired by you? Any words of motivation you can leave the viewers with?
I'm gonna be. I don't know if it's direct or personal, but at some point you gotta let your ego go. You gotta let your ego go. What I've learned in the sport is you gotta humble yourself and be a sponge and learn from every trainer, every session. There's so much to learn in the sport. You gotta let egos go, because once you get it, you've got an ego, you think you know better. It's done for you in this business. That's just my personal opinion. I've seen some really great fighters, talented, and they've gone to. I don't want to swear or anything, but they've gone to rubbish. So from us, because like I said, I've seen some amateurs and some pros that I looked up to, and now I'm on the flip side, and I've gone up a little bit, and I actually realized they let their egos get the best of them, and they should have actually just humbled themselves. This is a tough sport. You can love boxing, but it'll never love you. So you've got to be a sponge and absorb as much as you can to better yourself.
That's amazing, brother. Thank you very much. Once again, Flo Simba, thank you very much for your time, brother. Guys, we've been chilling tonight with my man here, Flo Simba, who has 20 fights, 15 wins, 30 outs. The former IBO Youth World Champion in 2011. He's back in the swing of things. And thank you for being with us in studio tonight, brother. Thank you for your time. And looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, brother, let's be in touch. And thanks for being in studio with me today.
Okay, thanks, brother.